Good morning. Today's scripture reading is Matthew 1:18 to 2 verse 12. This is how the birth of Jesus the Messiah came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph, but before they came together, she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was faithful to the law and yet did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded him, and took Mary home as his wife. But he did not consummate their marriage until she gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name Jesus. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen, when it rose, went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route.
Greetings. I am King Herod, King of the Jews. Welcome to my throne room. My chief advisor tells me that you have all come to hear my story, my legacy, so that you may go and share the great stories that I have made, that I am a great ruler, so that these stories may be passed on from generation to generation, long after we have all passed on. Allow me to start in the beginning. I was born in the year 73 BC. My father was an Idumean man named Antipater, and my mother was a woman named Cyprus, who was the daughter of an Arab sheik. I am half Jewish and half Gentile. I grew up in my hometown of Ashkelon. Ashkelon is a wonderful southern Palestinian seaport on the Mediterranean Sea. Growing up as half Jew, half Gentile presented its challenges to me. Because I was neither fully Jewish nor fully Gentile, neither group fully accepted me as one of their own. I never felt like a true part of any of their groups. This played a large role in making me who I am today. I had to fight for anything that I wanted to have or be a part of as a child. And it is that scrapper mentality that has followed me throughout all of my life. I earned this crown, this position of authority over all of you, and it is my childhood that played a large part in me getting here today. Now, enough talking about my childhood years, and on to the legacy that I have built in this kingdom here of mine. My rise to power was set in motion before I had ever even set my eyes on this throne. Long ago, Judea was ruled by high priests of the Hasmonean dynasty. These Hasmoneans were descendants of the leaders who had freed our country from the Seleucid rule. You are aware of the Seleucid dynasty, right? The Seleucid dynasty that ruled this land from 312 to 64 BC. It began with Seleucus I, who created an empire from the part of the area of southwest Asia that had been controlled by Alexander the Great until 323. The Hasmonean dynasty freed us from the reign of the Seleucid rule. My grandfather, as well as my father, held prominent political offices in Judea. It was through these offices that they were able to establish close relations with the Romans. This was good because the Romans were the unquestioned power of the world at that time, and they continue to be the unquestioned world power to this day. If my grandfather and father had not held these positions of power with the Romans, it would have taken me much longer to attain the position that I am in today. In 47 BC, I was named governor of Galilee. Getting named to this position was not something that was just handed to me. I saw this as my opportunity to getting on the path that got me on this throne. It was in this year that Roman Emperor Julius Caesar momentarily was settling Palestinian affairs. Caesar seemed to have trusted my father, Antipater, with effective civil government. Seeing that the power that my father held in this area, I started planning and scheming as to how I could be named governor. I knew that once I was in power there, I could climb up to the top, to this throne. So I convinced my father to name Faisal, my brother, governor of Jerusalem, and to name me as the governor of Galilee. This way, no one would question my path to the throne by way of favoritism. Once I was in power, I did everything I needed to do to keep that power. I won favor with the Roman government by way of my success in dealing with the hostile military groups. I was swift, decisive, firm, and I made things happen. As a result, the Romans looked favorably upon me. The next 7 years that followed were an eventful 7 years for me. In 46 BC, I was appointed governor of Col Syria by Caesar's representative. Caesar died shortly after that, and I quickly allied with Cassius, the new emperor. Shortly after that, I married Cassius' daughter, Miriam. This also helped in earning the favor of the Emperor Cassius. In 40 BC, I was forced to flee in the midst of a Parthian invasion. They named their own king of Judea. I left my family in the fortress of Masada, and I went to Rome. It was there that I was accepted by Antony and later Octavian, who later became known as Augustus. Rome righted this invasion and named me king of Judea. I was named king of Judea, but I was not accepted by my own people. My own people rejected me as their ruler. This was not a lot different than my childhood, but this time I had the power to change how things played out from there. I was placed in power by the Roman government, and I was not going to mess that up. So I used the power given to me by Rome to conquer my own people, so that I could rule over them, and so that they would in turn obey my rule. Now, I know that many of you heard me called me yourselves, but you need to recognize that I am truly a great ruler. I know how to get things done, and am a skilled politician. I have brought considerable prosperity to this kingdom. I have stabilized the economy and reduced taxes. I encouraged trade and built the splendid port city of Caesarea. I turned Israel into a trading hub for Arabia and the East. I have had massive building programs, expanding this nation for the good of all who live in it. On top of all of this, I restored the magnificent Jerusalem temple. After all, I am part Jewish, and I wanted to do something for my people, even though they did not accept me. My ways may have been brutal. My ways were swift. I had many people executed for threatening my rule. But you cannot deny that I got results. I did whatever needed to get done in order to accomplishing my goals. In all my years in power, I experienced many different things, met from many different people, from within my family and not, that tried to take over my throne. But I had not experienced anything like what I experienced just a few years ago. There were some wise men that came to me, asking about a potential new ruler being born near Jerusalem. They asked me, "Where is this king who is to be king of the Jews?" For those of you that do not understand the role that wise men play, allow me to enlighten you. They were not kings, but they are often the power behind the throne. They were smart people that didn't just go and decide to visit some king-to-be on some small rumor. No, if these people were seeking a new king that apparently existed, this person most likely did exist. Now, when they asked me about this baby who was to be king of the Jews, I thought to myself, I am king of the Jews. This cannot be allowed. I was enraged, upset, infuriated. How dare anyone assume that they can just take my position as king of the Jews? Like I have stated, I am willing to do anything in order to keep my rule. I am also a very smart man. These wise men were seeking this baby out. So why would I invest my own time in finding this baby when these men could lead me right to him? So I asked these wise men where this child king is to be born. In Bethlehem was their response. I thought to myself, I can take care of this quite easily. Of course, it was my greatest hope that these men were incorrect in their search for their supposed king of the Jews. I earnestly hoped for their return to me with news that this child that they sought just did not exist. But I did not come to power by hoping for the best. So I plotted my plans as though this traitor child did exist. Rather than create a scene looking for this child during the census, I asked the wise men that, on their way back, they report to me and kindly tell me where this child was. That way I could go and worship him. It would be at this time that I would send some soldiers to go and kill this child and end this new king of the Jews garbage. Even though I had conquered my own nation and ruled well over them, there was still a constant resistance to the Roman rule as well as my rule in this land. I knew that if there was any hope of a different king taking my place as ruler over their nation, the resistance would grow to the point where we could have a full civil war on our hands. And I knew that this was not something that I wanted. It would be much better if I simply killed this child and put an end to this before the resistance caught wind of it. I waited for the wise men to return to me and to report their findings about this child. I was truly patient with these men, especially considering the magnitude of the situation that I found myself in. However, I grew more and more restless as the nights went on, and I still did not hear from the wise men. As the days came and when the nights went, I started to fear that the wise men were correct in their assessment that this child was to be king of the Jews. Then one day, word reached me, and my worst fears were realized. I was informed that the wise men had indeed found this child, and that as far as they were concerned, the prophecy about him being the next king of the Jews was true. While this was a bad situation, it was a situation that I could handle without too much trouble. But what the wise men did to me infuriated me. They avoided me and took a whole different route home so as not to come anywhere near me. They must have figured out my plan to kill this child and wanted nothing to do with it. This made me incredibly angry with them. Now, instead of knowing where this child was and killing him, I was forced to take extra precautions so that I could preserve my position on this throne. I have never hesitated to take swift and firm action in my years as king, and I didn't see any reason why I should change how I do my business now, since it has worked so well for me to this point already. I had no idea how old this child was at this point, except for the fact that he had to be 2 years or younger. So I had all boys aged 2 years old and younger killed. This way there was no room for error left. All boys would be killed, and my rule preserved. Little did Herod know that Jesus was not interested in his throne at all. Carrying on in our Advent theme of telling the whole old story, I have been tasked with the question, what can we learn from the Christmas story from Herod's perspective? We all know the Christmas story, most likely hearing about it several times in this Christmas season. But what can we learn from considering alternate perspectives to the same story that we have known for years? Jesus came to this world for King Herod just as much as he came for you and for me. Jesus did not come for a select group of people, but for all of us alike, and that includes Herod. We all know Herod as a brutal character in the Christmas story. But what I want us to look at is Herod the person. What can we learn from Herod? I have a few observations of things that we can learn from Herod's life. Herod had uncontrolled ambition. His list of accomplishments is long and great. He was a great builder and helped build his kingdom in great ways. While it is good that he accomplished what he did, it was also his uncontrolled ambition that turned Herod into the brutal man that we see in scriptures. Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 to 24 says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and vermin destroy, where thieves and break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then light is within you if then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." Herod chose his master. Which master do you serve? If you are serving the wrong master, then what will you do today to start serving the right master? All right, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The baby, Jesus, wasn't interested in Herod's kingdom at all. Big secret. Jesus did not come to this earth to sit on a throne and rule as kings ruled in the day. It wasn't the reason that Jesus came here. The great number of people that followed Jesus during his ministry wanted him to assume the throne in this way. But Jesus' plan was much greater than simply ruling from an earthly throne. All right, I'm going to let you in on another secret. Are you ready for this one? It's a big one. While Jesus wasn't interested in Herod's throne at all, he is interested in yours. That is the reason why he came to this earth. Jesus desperately wants to be the ruler over your kingdom, ruling instead of you. But unlike Herod, he is not going to take it by force. Jesus gave us the choice to make him the ruler of our lives or not. He really wants to rule over us. But his greatest desire is that we desire for him to rule over us. He will only rule in our lives if we allow him to. We just spent some time looking at this story through the eyes of Herod, an insanely jealous, brutal man who was willing to do literally anything, including killing multiple family members and lots of baby boys, doing whatever he needed to do in order to keep his position of power. And we all know that in the end, Herod lost his throne and died. Despite all his fighting and scrapping, he could not save himself from death. And I have to think that Herod knew that his death and dethroning was imminent. He was fighting a losing battle. We all have tendencies to do the same thing. We have losing battles that we are fighting, deceiving ourselves into thinking we can win these battles on our own. But our fate in these battles is the same as Herod's was. We will lose. If we choose to fight our own battles, the only guarantee is that we will lose. The good news for us is that we have no need to fight our own battles on our own. We are on the same side as that baby king who could not be killed. The Bible tells us that one day he will be victorious over all the world. And he wants to fight for us. He wants to fight with us. He cares deeply for us and came to this world for our sake. He wants to help us. He wants to fight with us, helping us to win the battles that we have with the things of this world. So, to those of you who do not currently submit to Jesus as the ruler of your life, I ask one question. What is holding you back? Are you tired of fighting your own battles and losing? Do you feel tired, exhausted, needing a break from all that this world is throwing at you? Jesus came to this world for me, and he came for you. I want to invite you to make your claim to him as ruler over you and everything in your life today. Jesus promises to help fight our battles, to comfort and love us, be compassionate towards us, and promise us victory over the very thing that no one on this earth can conquer on their own, death. So what is holding you back? Find someone today and talk to them. Figure out how you can make Jesus Lord over your life. And to those of you who claim to submit to the ruling of Jesus in your lives, I have one question for you. Have you submitted everything to the rule of your King? What are you holding back? What are you trying to conquer, to rule on your own? My challenge to you today is find the areas of your life that you are trying to conquer on your own and submit them to your King today. Will you get off your throne and allow Jesus to assume the position of ruler in your life today? Whatever your reason for keeping hold of your throne, I want to invite you to let go of that today. Let Jesus be the ruler of your life and nothing or no one else. I promise that this is the best thing that you can do this Christmas.